Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time. And as I mentioned on my daily financial news, I had a surprise guest this Sunday morning. Somebody I actually follow on Instagram. His Instagram page is The Young Retiree by 33, which is a sexy title, by the way. That's a good Instagram name, good Instagram handle. But I wanted to talk to him and see how he did it. So let's welcome Travis to the show. How you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely, man. So retiree by 33, you got my attention. Why don't you first introduce the audience to who Travis is, what you do, and all of that, and we'll kind of unlock this story. Because again, the young retiree by 33 is a great handle.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, my name's Travis. I'm the creator behind the Young Retiree by 33. 29 years old, live in Orlando, Florida, and started to really get down the rabbit hole of financial independence and what that could potentially look like in the future when I was around 24 years old. Really from there, tried to understand and learn and figure out and try to dive into podcasts, reading books, educating myself, continuing to network and meet people and find out how people were becoming financially free and financially independent at younger ages versus waiting to work till you're 65 years old and then enjoying your pension and 401k and all that stuff for 10, 20 years at the end of your life when you're already old. So found real estate investing. Bought my first house when I got promoted and moved from Philadelphia area down to Orlando. I just knew that I didn't want to rent anymore because I was renting up in Philadelphia. And then what I ended up doing was like falling into house hacking. And that was my first property that I purchased. Had no idea what I was doing, started house hacking, renting out by the bedroom. And then now that's kind of snowballed into my main investment vehicle now that I do, which is short-term rentals. And I currently have 2 short-term rentals in Kissimmee, 2 short-term rentals in the Smoky Mountains. And I also have a management company where I manage short-term rentals for others. I have one under management right now with 2 more coming on board in the Smoky Mountains that I'll be managing for others. So
very cool.
Yeah.
So this all starts at 24. Did I hear you say you're 29 today?
That's correct.
All right. So the first thing I want to scratch a little bit is I want to go back to you when you're 24, because thinking about financial independence when you're 24 is not normal, to say the least. Where did that come from? Did you bump into a story? Did your family talk about money? Tell us about Travis at 24, because that's not normal.
Yeah, it was really interesting how it all came about. So I was at the time I was working for Walmart e-commerce, and I was an industrial engineer designing next generation fulfillment centers for our Sorville e-commerce network. And one of the operations managers that came from Amazon that I met, that I started to become really, really close with, just literally told me, "Hey, read this book." And I'm like, "Hey, stop right there, because I don't read. Like, no matter what you say, like, I'm not going to read anything." And as most, that book happened to be Rich Dad Poor Dad, and he's like, "You got to read this book. Like, trust me, just take a shot and give it a read." And after I read that book, I just started going down rabbit hole after rabbit hole. My family and my background, like I would say, I was raised in a really good family, really well off from like a middle class standpoint. Nothing extravagant, but played sports, was able to travel, playing sports and all that kind of stuff. But my parents never invested like in the sense of real estate and having forms of investment that were considered income producing assets. So that whole realm was very, very new to me, and I didn't know anything because only my uncle, who I occasionally talked to, was the only member of the family that actually did real estate investing. So it was a new concept and just something that I really started to dive into. And I found the financial independence FIRE movement, and then it just kept on going rabbit hole after rabbit hole until I got to where I'm at now.
Very cool. Very, very cool. So, okay. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's great. I mean, that was a book that I read 20 years ago that got me started. It's nice to see that it's still impacting people. It's a book that doesn't talk about how to do it. It's just like, it either speaks to you or it doesn't, right?
100%.
And for me, it's like, you jackass, you've been doing this all wrong, right? Because I was 30 years old when I picked it up and was making decent money and was like spending it all. So it's fun to see that still resonates. That's awesome. So between 24 and that Orlando house hack, when did you close that Orlando property? How old were you then?
Yeah, I would have been 25 probably.
Oh, so relatively quick.
Yeah, so I had just gotten promoted and knew I was moving. And like right before that is when I read the book. And at that point I knew I didn't want to rent anymore. Not that there's anything wrong with renting, but it just didn't align anymore with what I wanted to do long term. So it was essentially a year after, or roughly a year after reading the book.
And then when you purchased it, I'm always curious, first time homeowners, how much did you have to put down?
Yeah, that house I put 24,000 was cash to close. I think I'm pretty sure I did a 5% down conventional one.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it was brand new build, inventory home in a really nice area that was right between two up and coming areas. And it was just a really, really good deal.
Yeah. So you bought that, must have been what, like 2016, 17?
2017.
Okay.
Yeah, 2017.
Yeah. So I'm guessing the home is appreciated a little bit since you purchased it.
Yeah, I actually sold the home in January of last year because I moved into my new house hack, and living there the last 5 years, I wanted to take all of that tax free. So I was like, hey, let's just go ahead and sell this now, because I ended up getting $111,000 after closing. So it was like, it just made sense to go ahead and sell the property.
Yeah. So what Travis is referring to there is, if you live in your house as your primary residence 2 of the last 5 years, you can sell it, and as a single individual, take up to $250,000 tax free. And if you're married, it's $500,000. Not a lot of people know that. So that's very, very cool, Travis. Do you have any regrets? Did you ever think about continuing to make it a house hack, or maybe you moved farther away and it just wouldn't have made sense?
Yeah, I don't have any regrets, just because of the tax advantages of selling it at that point, and the appreciation just made sense.
Okay.
I could have kept it and continued doing what I was doing there long term, but it also was a model that I was trying to move away from, because I was trying to move away from rent by the bedroom house hacks to a small multifamily property house hack. So
that makes sense. Very cool. So again, folks, these are just things that you can do up front. Not enough people are realizing the power of house hacking or room hacking. Actually, there's got to be a better name for it, right? When I think house hacking, I think duplexes and quads and all of that, and you buy one, rent out the others. Is it perhaps called something different when you buy a house and rent rooms?
I still refer to it as house hacking.
Okay, that works. Somebody out there smarter than me needs come up with a better name, room hacking, or I don't know. Anyways, I guess it doesn't matter. But that is just such a powerful way of getting started. I don't know if you know a gentleman named Todd Baldwin, but he was featured on CNBC Millennial Millionaire. And he has a similar story. He bought a house, a big house. I think it was 5 or 6 bedrooms for $500,000, but he came in for 3%. Cash to close was 19 grand. And he actually just sold it. And, he walked away with a check for over $300,000. Right? These are life-changing things. You got to get in the game, and especially with rent, right? The beauty that houses have, because you had a 5% down conventional. I'm guessing you got a 30-year fixed rate mortgage.
Yep.
Right. So what that means is his payment is the same, right? And I'm going to guess your rent, if you were going to be renting, would be higher today than 5 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's just people need to see the power of this, and especially if inflation keeps taking off and moving forward. So when do you kind of switch? You have the aha moment. You get in. You obviously now you have $111,000. I think you said. What do you do with that? Do you go out and buy a Bentley and just start flashing in Lambos, or what's a young retiree do with $111,000?
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. I wish. But no, so I've always lived in the mindset of living paycheck to paycheck right now, where I dump all the money and cash that I have into investments and cash flowing assets, hopefully.
Nice.
So when I knew I was going to be closing on that one, I had 2 additional properties under contract. One was a triplex. That was going to be house hack number 2. And the second one was my second short-term rental down in Kissimmee. So I essentially dumped all that money back into 2 additional properties and just continued to try to snowball the cash flow.
That's awesome. So you say down there in Kissimmee, forgive me, I don't know what that means. Is it hours away or is it 10 miles?
Kissimmee is like 40 minutes
Okay.
southwest of Orlando. It's essentially right where Disney World is,
Okay.
where all of the Disney and Universal attractions are.
Got it. And then Smoky Mountains,
Tennessee.
Tennessee. So how far is that?
From me, it's like 11-hour drive. So
All right.
it's pretty far.
All right. So let's do so. Do you drive? Like you have rentals there and you're actually now going to be managing for others. Do you drive? Do you fly? I mean, I'm just curious.
I don't go to those properties often.
Okay.
I'll maybe go to them once a year. So right now I'm managing in 3 markets. Kissimmee, that's close to where I live, like I was saying earlier. Panama City Beach, which is like a 6-hour drive from where I live right now, and then the Smoky Mountains in Tennessee. And recently, outside of going to vacation to my short-term rental properties that are in the Smokies, I made a rule to myself that I'm not going to go to my properties anymore because I need to really treat these like investments.
Yeah.
And I need to get them operating to the point where I don't have to go and physically be there to do stuff. So I focused really, really heavily on getting the appropriate teams and systems in place in each of the markets so I don't have to visit the properties anymore.
That's awesome. So one of the things that really got my attention, and I think it was actually the post that you sent out, said you just achieved you hit lean financial independence. That was actually a phrase I'd not heard of. So A, can you define it for the audience? And then, B, talk about how you got there?
Yeah, absolutely. So lean financial independence is essentially if you were to be able to pay for all of your expenses at the bare minimum without doing anything extravagant, going on vacations, seeing any lifestyle creep. It's essentially how much income you would need to be producing from your assets on a monthly basis in order to be able to sustain life and continue living. So had a really big milestone that I actually didn't even realize that I hit until I started looking back at all my monthly reports. And I'm like, hold on, like I think I hit it already. So it was kind of a shock to me to even think about it. And then that all of the income has really been produced from my short-term rentals in combination with house hacking as well, where my largest expense I have essentially down to paying me money to live in my own home. So I've essentially tried to hack as many parts of my life as possible so that my living expenses are really, really low. And now it's just continuing to layer on more and more assets so I can continue to grow that monthly cash flow.
So having hit, lean financial independence is amazing. And you're 29, just awesome. Congratulations. Where do you kind of, I'm guessing you think about the future, so where do you plan to be by 33, right? That's in your title, young retiree by 33. What's the kind of vision for 33?
Yeah, I think continuing to grow my short-term rental, the short-term rentals that I own, as well as some management as well, just because I'm getting very, very strategic in what homes I'm purchasing or even looking to purchase, just because of the market continues to rise really, really fast, just generally speaking. So for me, it's hitting that fat fire number of over $10,000 in cash flow a month from all of my assets. And I think it's for sure doable by 33, but I'm hoping to be able to hit those numbers by 31. So essentially 2 more years awesome. is the target right now.
Very cool. So you're still house hacking, right? The house you're in now, you have roommates.
So I don't have roommates anymore. So this is actually a triplex that I live in now.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Triplex.
So I wanted to move away from, and that was a big reason for also selling that. Like I was saying before, selling the first house hack is I wanted to get out of the business of rent by the bedroom.
Yes.
Just because there is additional cash flow capabilities there, but there's additional work that's needed in order to effectively do it.
Yeah.
So I found a part of Orlando that had small multifamilies that are nice areas that I could move into.
Nice.
And now the house that I live in is a triplex where the front is a 2-bedroom, 1 bathroom that I rent out long term. And then in the back, it's a stacked 1-1 on top of a 1-1.
Mhm.
I rent the downstairs 1-1 through Furnish Finder to traveling nurses, and have it completely furnished. And then I live in the upstairs unit by myself.
Oh, very cool. So just curious, what did it take to get into that one? It took, I think you said 24 grand to get into the first one. What did it take to get into a triplex?
Yeah, this one, I actually did FHA 3.5% down. And this was in 2000, I think March of 2020, before some of the updates and regulations for multifamily property went into play. I think it was, what that would have been, I think it was probably around 28,000.
Okay.
I think roughly around there, $28,000.
Yeah. So again, I just want people that, a lot of people think it takes a lot of money to get into houses, let alone triplexes in nice areas. You can still do 3.5% down loans. They're there. That's what they are for, right? Even quad, up to quads, right? 4 units and below. So talk about that experience, right? You find the triplex, you get an FHA loan. You're probably in 2020, you're probably competing with others. What was it like? Was it on the MLS? Was it a off-market deal? Let's talk about how you got this triplex, because it's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. First, I was trying to find a market in Orlando that had small multis, because they weren't scattered throughout all parts of Orlando. So the first thing was trying to find an area of Orlando that had small multis. Once I found that, then at that point, I wasn't a licensed real estate agent. So I just went through and had a buddy of mine who had a good agent that he had worked with to close on his house hack. I reached out to them, letting them know, hey, I'm looking for this criteria. Small multifamily, could be duplex, triplex, quad, roughly in this area, roughly within the 300 to 500,000 price range. And then saw something on get listed on the MLS, put in the offer the exact same day, and then had it under contract the next day. So it was a pretty quick process. I think
Awesome.
From starting to set up the search to having something under contract was about 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks.
Very cool. So as people would probably like to know, right? So you're in a triplex, you are living in one of the units, the other two, one's long-term, one's traveling nurses. Are you living for free, or are you paying a couple of bucks?
Yeah, most months I am making money on the house hack. So last month, after all expenses and everything, I made $240
and lived for free.
And live for free.
And live for free. That's an important caveat. That's amazing. Why do you think this stuff's not taught in school? I mean, seriously. I mean, why are not more high school graduates, college graduates going out and getting a house hack and living for free? I know I'm 2 decades older than you, or a decade older. Well, how old are you? Yeah. A decade older than you. So, no, 2 decades older. God, I'm old. So it wasn't taught for me either. So it's not like it's any different, but this house hacking thing is powerful. I want more 20 somethings and 30 somethings to realize that house hacking is a way I call it a way to get a better financial future. And then if you stay on it long enough, like you have, you really can have financial independence.
Yeah, it is sad that it's not taught in school or anything in any financial classes that are offered in high school or in college. Because at least from my standpoint, what I would have done is going into college, I would have asked my parents to buy a place and I'll rent it out and all that stuff and get roommates and handle all that. And I think it goes back to a book that I read at Set for Life by Scott Trench, where it's people are focusing on the wrong things. And generally, when it comes to a financial standpoint, they're focusing on eliminating the $5 coffee every day, which is going to cost you $300 a month, whatever, if you're going extravagant. But they're not focused on the right expenses, which are your housing, your car, and your going out and meals expense. And if you can focus on those 3 specifically, then you can put yourself in just so much better of a financial position long term. And I think more people just need to continue to talk about it. Social media has definitely helped get the word out, but at the same time, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. So they gotta want to learn. They gotta be inquisitive. They gotta understand the why behind what you're doing. Because I've had a ton of friends and family say you're crazy for house hacking and renting out our bedroom. I'm like, you guys may not understand now, but just wait 5 years and then you'll be
You'll
like,
see.
oh, hold on.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah. So it's funny, right? I go back to 24, and again, I talked to Todd Baldwin a bunch, and he was 23 at the time. And he actually told me that he had a friend who had saved up about 20 grand, just like him. And his friend went and bought an Escalade, right? Tricked out Escalade, whatever it was, 80, 90 grand, whatever, because he could qualify. He had the income to do it. And Todd buys a house, right? Fast forward 5 years, the guy still has the Escalade. It's now worth 20 grand or whatever the depreciated car's worth. And he's walking away with a check for 300 grand and made 25 grand a year and lived for free. So it's like, it's just, but again, when I was 24, I'd have bought the Escalade. Nobody was talking about financial independence 20 years ago, right? Or 30 years ago, whatever it is. It's just, we got to do more. So what are other messages you'd want to tell your 24-year-old self, or people in college, maybe watching this? What do you want them to do? You tell people to read Rich Dad Poor Dad and see if that sticks, or what do you tell people?
Yeah, I tell people that, like, at the end of the day, what I wish I would have known is I wish I would have taken more calculated risks earlier on in the process. I think it just, like, you'll hear from a ton of people, like, they get analysis paralysis and they're like, oh, well, like, what if the numbers don't work out? It's like, the reality is your first deal does not have to be a home run. Right. Your first deal is there to set you up for more deals in the future. Don't worry about hitting a home run on that first deal. That first deal is great if it is a home run, but the most important thing is you're going through the process. You're learning what you need to learn. You make mistakes, and you make sure you don't make those mistakes again on future deals. So I think the biggest thing is really taking action. You got to take calculated risk that you believe is intelligent risk. But the only way that you're really going to figure things out is if you actually go out and do it. And I wish I would have started doing it at a much younger age, and would have told myself that, hey, this doesn't have to be a home run. Focus on the basics and fundamentals of what you believe from the education that you've put yourself through, but don't focus on hitting a home run. Take action, get the first one under contract, see the process, learn from your mistakes, and then continue to snowball that into additional ones down the line.
Yeah. And then the other powerful thing to really talk about here, again, you're 29, you have goals by 31 and 33. Everything you're doing now, you can do when you're 69, right? And you're just going to just keep, use the word snowball, right? It'll just keep snowballing. And just like snowballs do, they get bigger as time goes by, right? So I think you had this on one of your posts. It's certainly something I say all the time, is time in the market is better than timing the market. Why don't you talk about what that means to you?
Yeah, absolutely. And that really just goes back to the point I was making of, like, you got to take action now, because the best time to invest is yesterday. But if you didn't invest yesterday, the best time to invest is today. Yeah. So, like, people need to understand that, like, if you're in it for the long haul, based off of all the financial fundamentals that have shown historical performance over the last 50, 60, 70 years, like, you are taking a hedge against any potential risk that's out there if you're investing in the right things. And those things will continue to grow over time, as your investments, how much you have invested continues to grow over time. So the best time to do it is today, for sure.
Well, do me a favor. How can people reach out to you, follow you, just see what's going on? Obviously, tell them again about your Instagram page, because you're somebody I follow. So how would you like people to reach out and follow you?
Yeah, the best way to reach out to me is on my Instagram, at the young retiree by 33. And I try to get back to everybody with
Oh, you're awesome. Hours. Yeah, you were very quick. Thank you. Yeah. So this again is so much fun. So I'm going to ask, you may not think about it. It's just a birthday around the corner for me. I'll be 50 in just a little bit here. So I'm just going to ask you just to brainstorm. Where are you going to be at when you're 50? That's, what is that? 21 years away? Can you even think that far ahead?
I haven't thought that far ahead. So we'll see.
We'll see. Actually, so it sounds like you're single. Actually, that was something. It's still single, right? Or
I'm in a relationship now.
You're in a relationship. Okay. Because eventually what happens is, you get married, have kids. And I'm curious about your relationship, your significant other. Are they the same mindset, or do you kind of battle it out over spending?
Yeah, they actually are very much the same mindset,
Awesome. That's
which
helpful.
is actually how we originally connected through our Instagram accounts, because she's an entrepreneur as well, and
Oh, very
crushing
cool.
it in her own right. So it is. I never thought I would meet somebody that had the same mindset, because it's such a unique
Yeah,
mindset
at
to
that
have.
age. Yeah,
Yeah, so
that's cool.
it's been interesting.
You want to give her a shout out or talk about her page, or you guys keep it
Yeah.
low key?
No, it's at the frugal friend.
The fruit, you guys are the same. Think about that.
Yeah.
That is pretty cool. Oh, that is awesome, man. Instagram is the new dating site, folks. I guess that's how stuff happens. So anything else, kind of closing thoughts that you want to tell? Maybe actually, this ought to be pretty cool. What would you tell if, somebody that's in my age bracket, right? So Generation X, let's assume the individual doesn't have anything. They feel like it's too late. They can't do anything. What would you tell them?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, if you feel, you have to understand like what your priorities are from a long-term standpoint. The reality is, if you want to be financially free at any point in your life, you have to figure out how much cash flow you need to be producing, whether it's through your assets,
Mhm.
401k, whatever. But you need to understand at what point can you tap into each one of those things.
Yeah.
Because the thing that I always tell people, and there's nothing wrong with this, I'm just like stating
Mhm.
what I believe to be the facts, is investing in your 401k is great. The problem with investing in your 401k, if you want to be financially free early on or before 65,
Mhm.
is you can't tap into that money at
Right.
all without paying penalties. So think about like whatever age you're at, and where you want to go, and what's going to get you to be financially free from doing a job that you hate, or whatever that might be. And then try to put together a plan of a structured, like sound financial plan to be able to get to that point. There's no better day to start than now.
Yeah. That's something I talk about. I call it get your money right. Obviously it would be great for all of us to start at 23 or 24. It is what it is, right? There's nobody has a time machine, can undo it. But look yourself in the mirror, make some hard choices. I did it when I was 30 and I'd already wasted a decade of my life. What we did is we whacked our expenses. By the time I was 32, I think we were living on 50% of our expenses. And,
Awesome.
that just allows it to snowball. So, Travis, this was so much fun. Thank you for doing this again. One more time. What is your Instagram page?
At the young retiree by 33.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.
Thank you.